All right, let's talk a little Houston Texans football this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever you're watching. It's like the Truman Show over here. Hey, good morning. If in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. All right, so anyways, the Texans quietly did steal this NFL draft class, and there's a couple of players. We could title this that. We could talk about the wide receivers. We could talk about trenches, and I think there was a lot of worry after trading away Tunsil. You get rid of a guard that wasn't producing, and it's just like, what is this offensive line going to look like? What is this offense going to look like? But we need to have trust in the front office of the Houston Texans. I think they've earned it by now. And even when there were struggles offensively last year, isn't it crazy, by the way, how offensive coordinators can go from top of the mountaintop? You're the one who's going to take like the Jags job to all of a sudden you're like, go the next year. It so rarely works out as an offensive coordinator if you don't strike when the iron's hot. Ben Johnson over in Detroit, he didn't strike when the iron's hot, still got the job that he wanted, which is crazy, which I don't like because they went to a division rival. By the way, if you don't know us, my name's Craig, my buddy Chris. We are Lions fans. We don't pretend like we're not, but we love talking about teams that the NFL national media ignores. Texans are one of those teams, but they've been so good the last 2 years. The roster's been solid. The coaching's been solid. I think they're set up for an even better year this year, and what they went out and did was they created an identity. And there's a really cool article that comes out every year for The Athletic where they go and they talk to other executives and they actually get quotes from them about what they thought of each team's draft. And the executives were very, very high. I mean, very high on especially the first 3 rounds, getting back, going in the second round, then trading up to get a tackle, and then going back. And I'm just going to talk to you about this and what they had to say, and then you can make the decision for yourself. All right. First, they said they have Tank Dell coming off injury and lost Diggs. But, man, when Dell gets healthy and adding the receivers they got, Higgins and Noel, to go with Nico Collins, wow. C.J. Stroud is going to have weapons galore. All right? Here's the other thing they said. Collins and Higgins are both 6'4". You don't have physical enough corners to cover 2 6'4" receivers, the exec added. And that's the thing that you have to understand. I've been thinking to myself, what other team has this? None. Nico Collins is still the alpha. Like, he is the physical just monster. But they added something as close to him as they could. And so they have Nico Collins, who is just this monster that they've developed into such a good wide receiver. Such a good wide receiver. I'm going to make the argument top 5 in the NFL, period. And they've developed him into that. And now you put another guy of the same size on the other side of the field. How do you cover that? No team has 2 big physical corners. It's just not a thing. All right. Then they have the talk about Ursery. But before I go into the tackle, I want to talk to you just about what you're getting and making a case that these 2 wide receivers may actually even be better in the NFL than they were in college. And I'm going to make the case as to why right here. First, I want to show you Jaden Higgins. All right. He had a 90.3 PFF grade, but here's what I'm looking at. 87 catches on 129 targets for 1,185 yards. 1,200 yards of production, 9 touchdowns. Jalen Noel, this is him. Look familiar? 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. These are guys that produced at such a high level. But I want to now talk to you about who the guy was throwing to them. His name was Rocco Beck. Rocco Beck. He was a sophomore. They call him sophomore, right? And he completed 59% of his passes last year for 3,500 yards. 2,400 of those yards were to these 2 wide receivers. 17 of the 25 touchdowns were to these 2 wide receivers. But it gets even crazier than that. I started breaking down the numbers. Rocco Beck completed 59% of his passes. 59% of his passes on about 250 attempts to these 2 guys. sorry, 59% of his passes. He had about 250 attempts to these two guys. To Noel, he completed 67.2% of his passes. And to Higgins, he completed 67.5% of his passes. So, in the other 200 passes that he threw to any other wide receiver, tight end, or running back, based on my math, he completed less than 50% of his passes. Now, does that tell you that they have a good quarterback throwing to him or a not so good quarterback? When it was outside of these two stud wide receivers, he struggled mightily. He did not have a good completion percentage. He did not throw for a ton of yards, right? I mean, just over 1,000 yards to the other people in 200 attempts, under 50% completion percentage, only 8 touchdowns. Only 8 touchdowns. And so his rating just dipped. So that tells me that it was all these guys that were doing it. So when you look at this lineup, what you look at immediately is, okay, Mechie, that's going to be Higgins on the outside, opposite of Collins. And then you're still going to have Schultz in the middle. Kirk, when healthy, look, Kirk's a good football player, when healthy. But I would imagine Noel's going to be pushing for his job by the end of the year, whether he's healthy or not. At first, I was saying, like, go get Kirk, like in fantasy football. Like, he's going to get back to that 800-900 yards, 5, 6, 7 touchdowns, and stuff like that. But Noel might push him. And then after this year, Kirk can just walk right in or walk out. You get off that contract. Jalen Noel is your next guy. It is genius. But you have to protect the quarterback. So let's see what the executives had to say about what they did at offensive tackle. And here it was actually pretty kind of cool what they said. They said they got from under the money of Tunsil, another exec said. Ursery surely is not Tunsil. We know that. We know. He is a stiffer, taller guy who they can probably get by within their scheme. With what they are going to do, they don't need a downhill, physical left tackle. We all love Laramie Tunsil. He is unbelievable left tackle. He's phenomenal. All right, but you bring in Cam Robinson, and you say, all right, Ursery, are you our tackle of the future? And if he's not, then that's okay, because you simply play Fisher on one side, Robinson on the other. And if he is ready, great, you throw him in there. And you hope that your tackles of the future you have in Ursery and Fisher. That's your hope. And if not, you go back to the well next year, or you spend money in free agency, or you do what you have to do. But they can be multiple. Titus Howard can stay in. He can go outside to tackle if he needs to. Fisher could come in. Howard could stay in at guard. All right, you got Scruggs, you got Patterson. Like, I'm not saying this is an offensive line that's world beaters, but within their scheme and what they do, it's good. And you can go one of two ways with this. You can either, I prefer to build in the trenches because I think it makes everybody better. But sometimes when you have receivers that can do, and you have as talented of a wide receiver core as they're going to have, CJ Stroud is going to be able to be so multiple. So multiple. He's going to be able to throw screen passes like crazy. He's going to be able to, whether it's to Noel, whether it's to Kirk, whether it's to Mixon. All right, don't forget that they went and got Woody Marks, who's going to be a good receiving back out of the backfield. Like he's going to be able to, like a third down kind of thing. So he's going to be able to be so multiple in his attack that's what they're saying. They don't need this big downhill. This is turning this offense. They're saying, CJ Stroud, here's the keys. Take it. Take it, man. And I'm all for it. All right, hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.